Okay, so welcome to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. Pretty much as always, I am here, your host, Adam Smith with Just the Tips Coaching. And normally, you guys have probably come to expect that our marketing director and my co host, Jen Waybor, would be with us. But Jen is under the weather. And while she is controlling all of the audio and the visual and all of that stuff that goes on with our video cast and our podcast, she is not going to be on screen, and you guys are not going to get to hear her talk today because she is under the weather. So here's another interesting piece of the puzzle. You guys would normally expect us to have a guest, and we did advertise and promote that we were going to have one this week. Actually, I think our first four-time guest, a real estate agent in California who used to be a librarian by the name of Grant Inaba. And Grant has been able to join us, just a hair tardy, but he is alive and kicking. That's a good thing. We do like that. So welcome back to the show for a fourth time, our first four-time guest in 6 years of doing this, Grant Inaba. Hey, Grant.
Hello, can you guys see me?
Yeah, we see you. We hear you. We're all good, man.
Oh, good. I'm sorry. I had some internet trouble. I had to restart my router and just kind of scramble to
Oh, that must have been a scramble. The funny thing is that the router can sense fear.
You know, I think it's in the air and it just it pulls it in, right?
The router, the printer, it can sense fear. So don't let it know that you're in a hurry to get anything resolved. Yeah. Well, welcome back to the show, Grant. It's been a while since we've seen you.
Yeah. A lot of new developments and changes. It's good to see you again too. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, doing well. Jen's a little under the weather. She is in the background taking care of all of the logistics of what makes our video cast and our podcast go, but did want to make sure you knew that she will not be part of our normal conversation as we've come to expect. It's actually pretty rare that I'm on the show and she isn't. There are instances where she's on the show and I'm not, but that isn't all that common. And this may be a first in Jen's tenure working with us. So yeah, Grant, well, give us a little bit of background. Obviously, there are going to be people that are watching or listening to the show and wouldn't have seen or heard the previous 3 episodes that we had you on board for. Give us a little quick snippet, some background about you, what you do now, where you came from. I did already reveal your secret that you were a librarian, our favorite librarian. But other than that, hit us with a little bit of background and then, tell us what you've been up to.
I think it's funny that we always highlight the librarian part.
I think it's awesome. You're talking about personalities that would normally be in such direct conflict with one another that for somebody to have bridged that gap, it's pretty cool.
Well, you know, I meet like all different types of real estate agents. All different types of personalities fit all different types of client profiles. So, you know, your typical introverted librarian, I think they still have some matches with certain types of clients.
Sure.
But I was going to mention, previous to being a librarian, I actually used to work in the music industry, and before that, the film industry also. So, you know, just kind of been jumping around to a lot of different careers. I'm finally at the age where I think real estate is, you know, going to be the one that sticks. Probably I'm going to have to make a commitment nevertheless anyway. So I've been doing real estate for about 10 years now or so. Got licensed in 2012, was doing real estate investments before that for quite a few years as well, since about 2007, 8-ish or so. And a big reason why I got into real estate was because of libraries, actually.
Really?
I wanted to have I knew that librarians didn't really make a whole lot of money, and I wanted to, you know, have a salary that was going to be comfortable to the life I kind of desired. And so I wanted real estate to be kind of a passive income generator that's going to supplement my library salary. And I just got so interested in real estate that I was taking classes at the local community college in the evening time after my regular workday. Completed all the classes. I took I think 20 classes and got a real estate AA degree and a business certificate from the local community college. And then I was like, I want to do more. I want to learn more. So after that, I got a weekend job as an admin assist for a local agent in the San Francisco area where I lived. and really just kept on going from there. Found out about Redfin. I was really interested in what was going on, what they were doing, and changing the real estate industry at that time. They made the MLS Public, which is a very kind of brand new thing for the real estate industry at that time. Got to work for them, and then switched to a digital brokerage, and that's where I'm at now.
That's okay. Well, thank you for bringing us full circle. I think the piece in my mind that really struck a chord is, yeah, it's probably one of the most expensive places to live, even if you don't have a specific bar for your lifestyle that you've set.
Oh yeah,
We've probably pushed librarians completely out of the market in the Bay Area.
yeah. You're living on the poverty line in San Francisco as a librarian. I live in East Bay now, which is a little bit cheaper.
A
But
little.
yeah, they really don't make. The problem is that their starting base is just so low, and they're not really part of any kind of a teachers union or anything like that. So they're just kind of flying out in the wind there, really.
That's too bad. Although I think it's common with a lot of roles that you and I and people that were born before the dawn of the internet would think are, essential.
Mm.
That we need libraries and we need people to run those libraries,
Yeah.
that kind of thing, as well as schools. Are another really good example. And we're obviously way the fuck off topic here now, but let's keep going. The entire breadth of human knowledge is now on the global network.
Yeah.
I mean, between Google and YouTube, you can learn anything you want.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't mean that Google and YouTube provide the necessary skills to make sure people understand how to learn it.
Yeah.
But that, yeah, the world has certainly changed in that sense, just like real estate has changed in that sense. I'm guessing it's probably been about a year since we've had you on the show, maybe even a little longer, considering how far out we're booked. Jen
Yeah.
would probably know the answer to that better than I would. In fact, maybe we can even get her to post your previous episodes, if not the most recent one, at least. And yeah, if that's the time frame, and as quickly as things change in that kind of period of time, things have got to be different for you these days than they were the last time we had you on the show.
Yeah. So here's the update. I have a 16-month-old baby, and that would have meant that I may or may not have mentioned him. I must have mentioned him previously, but if I didn't, my life has totally changed. I got a 16-month-old baby that I'm having to, add to the family and feed and things like that. And, definitely that changes the whole dynamic in your job and your career. As entrepreneurs, it's really kind of switched up my schedule a lot and a lot of my goals and objectives too. So that is the big new news.
Yeah, kids have a way of doing that.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's life altering type of stuff right there, no question.
Yeah.
Are you where did you make the sacrifice? Are you working less? Are you sleeping less? Did you give up eating? There are only 24 hours in a day. Having children, and I would have warned you had I known. Is well, it's a big deal. It's ridiculously time consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so during the first year, he wasn't really walking too much. So it was pretty easy and he was actually sleeping really, really well too. Big, long 12-hour naps and sleeps and things like that. So
You sound jealous
of myself or other
of
people?
him. I,
Oh,
I, I'd be
oh,
I'd be great with a 12-hour nap.
oh
No
my gosh.
problem. Every night.
I'm already training him to do my job. That's what you need to know.
Good move.
Um, well, what my point was is that during maybe the first year of his life, it was actually pretty easy to continue to do real estate like I was. But very recently, it's become much more difficult. We actually have a big shortage of daycare here. A lot of nannies are very busy. It's very hard to find a nanny to hire to take care of a kid and help out. So for quite a few months there, last few months or so, it's been really, really tough just managing the baby as he runs around the house. And, you literally have to be eyes on him if you take your eyes off him for like 30 seconds, he's gonna be running around, getting in the cabinets and, opening up containers that shouldn't be opened up.
Oh yeah, something's getting destroyed
or
in that
something's
time
being
frame.
destroyed. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Any number of havoc can happen, and so it makes it very, very difficult for a very high touch job like real estate to, in my opinion, happen. Um,
Interesting.
so I really kind of took a huge long break, honestly, from real estate and just kind of sat back, completely took care of the kid. And my wife has a full time job and regular 9 to 5. And I said to her, I said, look, you can be fired and it's going to be hard for you to get a new job. I can be fired and, I can just find another client. That's no problem at all. So we should really prioritize your job. So I just kind of took a back seat and really started taking more time with the child and less time with real estate. But during that time, I was really kind of trying to plan a new transition and figure out, okay, what's the next step of my life going to look like with a family? And I really wanted to start to kind of lean more into team leadership, recruiting, coaching, things like that. So that's really kind of where I'm kind of starting to move in the direction of now. We finally have a nanny. So I'm able to, keep on doing real estate and generate a consistent income like I used to do, but I'm really starting to kind of plan for the future and start really kind of thinking about, how a team can support myself and how I can support the team as well.
I really love this entire diatribe. There's a piece of it that really struck a chord with me. And it's kind of flashing back to the Paul Harvey, the monologue about God made a realtor. For those of you listening or watching, if you haven't listened to Paul Harvey's God made a realtor, please do that. It is just classic. But I don't know that a lot of people would make the connection because it's just kind of a mindset thing. But the abundance mindset that you are exhibiting, in the sense that, yeah, I'm going to stay home and I am going to take care of my son and I'm going to back away a bit from my real estate practice, because if that changes, I'll just turn the volume back up. I'll go find more buyers and sellers. That
Yes.
this is not difficult to do when you are good at what you do, when you have the knowledge base to do what you do, when you have that abundance mindset that you can do that,
Yeah.
is really, really cool. And I think that's obviously one of the big gaps in real estate, loan origination, whatever the case may be, is that so many of us lack that abundance mindset that would enable us to say things like you just did and actually believe them to be true, know that they're true. And it
Mhm.
is true.
Yeah.
If you're good at what you do and you know what you're doing, then yeah, you will have the freedom throughout your career. All of you listening to my voice, you will have the freedom throughout your career to do the kinds of things that Grant has been doing. He wants to turn the volume knob down, spend more time taking care of his son, let his wife do her normal 9 to 5 thing as she has for a long time. And when he's ready, he'll change that knob. He'll put
Yeah.
on a new record, which is apparently what we're kind of gearing towards here. Although I think that's the logical path. I think mentoring, recruiting, training, educating, building other people up to be able to do what you've done all these years since your librarian days is kind of the natural path. In our coaching program, we really try to focus on everything throughout the entire course of the program, with the understanding that taking all this knowledge, having all of this information, is going to enable you to build a business that you'll be able to eventually walk away from while it still pays you. So I think, without having the, plays drawn out on the chalkboard, as it were, because of your working knowledge of how the industry goes, you're just organically going down that path,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it is the logical path
Yeah.
if you want to treat it as a career. Obviously, a lot of people treat real estate as a job and not as a career, and that's probably another significant inherent failure, is that we, think it's a sprint, not a marathon, and that we, have to do it all right now, immediately, which we don't. But I do think that that's part of the puzzle. So, what do you think that looks like? Keep the existing company, recruit some agents. What does the next year or two look like?
Um. Well, that's a very broad question.
On purpose.
I'm trying to, I guess, figure out what to address first. I actually bought a real estate licensing school franchise, and so I'm kind of, by doing that, targeting a lot of people who are just getting their license, or just getting started in real estate. Building a coaching program in order to help those people learn about the real estate industry, and then from there, hopefully get them enough business, working capital for them to become successful really quickly. That includes, purchasing online lead generation, as well as really leaning into listings, because I found that, uh, any good successful team, you need to have listings in order to kind of help feed your buyer agents.
Oh, sure.
Um, you gotta be able to find clients right away through open houses, or through lead generation through your listings themselves. And so those are the two things that I'm really kind of trying to really build out. One of them is the um, license school, which I mentioned, and then also just
Great
meeting.
side gig, by the way. Fantastic.
What's that?
That's a fantastic side gig. I
Oh,
use the term loosely, but that's
mhm.
really cool stuff.
And you're saying that from experience, or?
No, I'm just saying. So the correlation I'm making here is that when I started in the mortgage business, and it's been decades, this was really before the dawn of, video like we're doing now, or podcasts, or social media, or anything like that. I was told or taught, as were most of the people in mortgages and still are, oddly enough, that in order to be successful, you have to get in front of real estate agents. In order to do that, you have to teach classes at the title companies.
Mm,
So I went and looked at what other loan originators were teaching real estate agents, and it was awful. It was crap. Like how to read an appraisal. Real estate agents don't want to know how to read an appraisal. That's not their job. That's your job. Or the latest, in VA loan products. And again, this is not the real estate agent's job. They don't want to know this, which is why, it was basically, I'm going to play on my phone, or back then probably my BlackBerry, as the real estate agent, eat my, mediocre boxed lunch, and completely forget who even spoke to me today, because it was content that wasn't of interest to me.
mm,
So, okay, well, let's do something that's a little more relevant. Like, let's teach real estate agents how to generate more leads, find more buyers and sellers.
mm,
And if I do that well, I might even see some of those leads,
mm.
which is, almost symbiotic to having a real estate school, because you might find those diamonds in the rough that you could make great agents on your team.
Yeah, that's the huge objective there. I think there was in the past decade, everyone used to put CEO at the end of their name, and it kind of evolved into, "Oh, don't go to school, don't go to college, it's a sham. You can just be successful on your own." Everyone turned into these big, huge. There was this huge wave of entrepreneurs, I think, and I think a lot of that has really kind of washed into real estate. You've got a lot of people that think that real estate is going to be a very easy problem solver for their life. And really, the truth is that real estate is a very tough gig,
It is
and
a
you
tough gig.
really got to learn and strategize and attack it as if it were you were the boss and your life is at stake. I suppose.
No, you're
So
right. Most, the vast majority, don't enter it into understanding that it is the role of a business owner,
yeah,
no matter
yeah,
what level you're on.
yeah, yeah. Mhm. So yeah, I think there is a lot of weeding out and attrition that's happening, where we're really looking for those people that can really have the personality traits, and it's hard to find. I think that's the case not only in real estate, but I think anywhere across any industry too, I suppose.
Some, there's no question. I think it's more prevalent and more relevant in real estate. And I think that there are some things that, well, and this is something you and I are going to share, because obviously this is the gap that we're trying to bridge. And the real estate schools, I understand your business model and you got to do what you got to do. But we know statistically that 80% of real estate agents fail in 2 years, 85% in 5 years. I think a big piece of that is because real estate agents don't understand the actual career, don't understand the work, so on and so forth. Um,
Yeah.
it's going to be easy. My schedule is going to be flexible. I'm going to hang out with my kids and I'm going to make a lot of money. But those things don't all jive together originally. It may take decades, a career to get to that point.
Yeah.
And the real estate schools aren't going to tell you any different because that destroys their model. If they lost those 80%, they're going to fail in the first 2 years anyway because they don't have a knowledge of what the job really is, what the work really is, then they're all going to fail. Now we're down to 3 real estate schools, kind of like we are in the mortgage space for our licensing and education and continuing education, so on and so forth. It's far, far more limited. There are far fewer of us, obviously, but nonetheless. And the reason that they're gone in 2 years is they're not taught the sales aspect. They're not taught the lead gen aspect, so on and so forth. So you come out of real estate school, you take your exam, you're now a licensed real estate agent, you start running your circle. But I got news for you guys. Your Aunt Ginny isn't buying a house every year. It doesn't work that way. So once you've run your circle, you're done. And that's the 80% that are gone inside of 24 months. So if you guys can get into real estate school with somebody like Grant, who's going to tell you the real estate portion of this is this little segment of it. You've got to learn lead gen, and you've got to know how to approach social media, and you've got to know how to approach video, and you've got to know how in the back of your mind, your job is to generate leads, to find buyers and sellers every day, every waking minute for the rest of your career. Then you're going to be a successful real estate agent. And once you've done it as long as Grant has, or as long as we have, or even longer, I'd like to consider Grant and I still fairly young, young-ish, younger. Don't get me wrong, I see agents still doing it in their 70s, 80s. I don't know that you would want to be doing that, but that this has to be treated like a career. It has to be treated with the respect that demands. This is not a job. It is a career. It is a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you guys, if you're in California, if you're considering being a real estate agent, try to get into a program where you're going to be able to learn the side of the business that the real estate schools typically aren't teaching. Try to get into a position where you can be mentored by somebody after that and can learn the finer points of finding buyers, finding sellers, because that's the job.
Yeah.
Everything you learned in real estate school, like contracts and negotiations and what an inspection is and how the appraisal goes and blah, 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 is all a byproduct of the lead gen, of finding buyers and sellers. If you don't do that, the rest of it is worthless. You don't need to know how an inspection goes if you don't have any buyers. You don't have to worry about how to review an offer if you don't have any sellers.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah. So I think it's really important that you are out there trying to bridge this gap.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no one else that will, honestly, if it's not us. The brokerage generally, they've got maybe a training program, but once you go through that program, they'll just throw you out there and say, okay, use what you learned. That's kind of hard to do if you need to start at step 1 and they taught you all about inspections, like you said.
Well, and now this process has taken you 6 months, and the 6 months savings you had so that you could go be a full-time real estate agent is done.
Yeah.
Maybe you're really smart. Maybe you're really intuitive. Maybe you're really adaptive, and you can start putting buyers and sellers into your pipeline, leads into your pipeline. But now you're still talking about a 30, 60, 90, 120 day cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I wish people getting into real estate, going into real estate school, were better informed about how intensive it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, my dad always had the saying. He was an entrepreneur himself. He owned his own business. And he said, being an entrepreneur is great because you can work as little as you want, make as little money as you want, or you can work as much as you want and make as much money as you want. I think people focus on the making money part, but they also need to focus on, the work that's relative to earning that money. And it's generally it's not an easy paycheck, I think, doing real estate. You have to work pretty hard in order to earn money.
Yeah, and it's not just about working hard because, I can go lift boxes in a warehouse somewhere and work, time and a half overtime and, double on holidays and weekends, whatever the case may be. I can work hard. But what's unique about real estate is that you have to work hard and you have to work smart.
Yeah, you gotta hustle.
Yeah, I mean, on both of those fronts, the really, really successful agents are smart. They're intuitive. They have a good grip on the human condition. They understand the sales process. They understand the sales cycle. I mean, on and on. There are a lot of jobs to know to be a successful real estate agent, to be a successful broker owner, to be a successful mentor, on and on. And what you learned in real estate school is a fraction of that.
Yeah, a very small fraction.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, I think this is really cool. I hope that you have an enormous amount of, well, I don't want to, I shouldn't say that you have an enormous amount of success with it, because I think that success is going to come from the people you get to teach, perhaps mentor, perhaps manage. Their success is what's actually going to make that. It's a real Zig Ziglar kind of equation, right? Help as many people as you can get what they want. You're going to get what you want.
Yeah. I think I understand what you're saying. Their success is going to be a reflection of my success.
But it's a two-way mirror, both.
Yeah. One thing that you mentioned that I kind of want to talk about is that you had said to, kind of work to a point where you don't have to work as much. And what I found so far, I think there's kind of a hump where that can be true, but I'm in the process right now where I'm finding that more. It's like the notorious BIG saying, more money, more problems. I think it's more work, more responsibilities. And at some point, maybe you can remove yourself from, or, get so high up in the ladder or the leadership chain where you can actually step back a little bit. But I have found so far in my life that the more you do, the more responsibilities you have. And I'm really looking forward to a point where I can kind of really, really dial down and everything's going to, I don't know, run itself. It's all going to be on autopilot. I don't know if you have any advice about that.
Well, I'm not there yet, so I'm not going to speak from experience.
Does it ever end though? I mean,
it has to. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah. As long as you survive it. I don't know how many of these episodes my folks catch, but my folks are retired. They live in Palm Springs. And they play golf 5 days a week, and there's not a whole lot to do in Palm Springs except eat and play golf anyway. So I would be lying if I didn't say I'm a little jealous right now. They're boomers. There's no denying it. In fact, funny conversation. I've got my team listening into a conference call because we're trying to do some analysis for targeted ads in their age bracket. And I asked my dad, where do you spend the majority of your screen time? Where do you spend the majority of your time, when you're online? And he says, well, in front of the computer. Yeah. Like, okay, boomer. I meant like, where are you on Facebook? Are you on the local news website? What are you doing? But a lot of what we're dealing with these days is the result of this enormous population. They were the biggest generation ever, probably ever will be. Probably ever will be. That's a big assumption. But I think that boomer generation will be the greatest population in a single generation ever to grace the face of the earth from here on out. Although, if you ask me honestly, I don't think humans have much longer to go on Earth. I think we're down to, I don't know, maybe 6, 8, 10 generations, and then Mother Nature will have had enough of us. We're going to see what I did to the dinosaurs. It's your turn. Okay. That kind of thing. But they did it. I mean, they worked hard, decades and decades of hard work. And it's essentially now on autopilot. Now, I think in real estate, in mortgages, you got to have a slightly different path. My father was an attorney, put in his time, and built up his retirement, and that was it. I'm done. I'm out. I'm washing my hands of it. I think if you're in real estate or mortgages, there are a few different paths you can go, and one of them is that traditional path. put your money in your IRA, your 401k, whatever the case may be, collect your Social Security, get on Medicare, and, draw against your retirement. The second one, which is obviously pretty obvious to a lot of us, is investing in real estate. I've got some investment real estate. I'm looking at another one right now, another property right now. I think that's pretty common among people in real estate and mortgages. But the idea that you have a retirement is ridiculous. There's no pension in a real estate agent's future, mortgage originator's future, that kind of thing. It seems to me that the natural progression is to build a business that you can walk away from while it still pays you, unless you want to interject yourself into it. If you want to stay involved, you want to do some lead gen, you want to work on systems, you want to build up your sales force, whatever the case may be, you have that freedom. Although, knowing what I know about me, if I get to that point and then try to interject myself in it, I'm probably going to fuck it all up. So I'll probably remain hands off and claim that, as today, the only credit I will take is that I'm smart enough to hire people smarter than me, which I've done. I do think that it exists. I do think you can go down that path and make it work. It requires a good operations team. It requires a good sales team. And probably the most difficult part, it requires good management.
Yeah.
And that's just hard to do. Look at other retail operations. Look at restaurants. Look at liquor stores, dispensaries, on and on. That management role, that bridge between ownership and employment, the employees, is a very difficult role to fill, to feel comfortable with, to train properly, to respect properly, to let them do their thing, to be hands off with, to trust them, for them to trust you. I mean, just on and on. It is a big, big challenge. But if we can incorporate that, is it any more of a challenge than the rest of what it's going to take for you and I to get from where we're at to that point?
Yeah.
I don't know. But it's a big challenge. But probably the biggest, because at that point we're at the end of the road. We've already gone over 100 speed bumps. So we're probably exhausted when it happens. But I do think that that's how it will work. I think that's how it'll work for you.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, it's going to be a very, very long road and adventure. A whole
adventure.
Yeah, and we'll just see what happens. I think. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think it'll be exciting.
Yeah, I think it too. If at the very least, there'll be something to do.
Yeah, very true. All right, Jen, I see you in the background there. Yes, I know we're already over time, but it's Grant. Cut us a little slack. We like Kevin Grant around. Maybe next time Grant will show us his son, or a picture of his son, or something to that effect, for at least the video audience. But yes, Jen, I will not leave you hanging. For those of you that are watching, you can see our text code at the bottom of your screen. If you're listening to the podcast, you can text TIPS to 63566. That's going to ping you back all kinds of cool information, other episodes of our podcast here. This is our 5th or 6th year. I'm going to lose track. It's been so long out because we just keep going, and we're booked so far in advance, and so on and so forth. It'll also ping you the link for our weekly little tip. We do a video blog with a quick little tip on something you can be doing to improve your business. You can get a copy of my book, Just the Tips. I am working on a sequel to that as well. Started writing that this month. Thank you for the pressure and whatnot from my team for that. And most importantly, and Jen would kill me if I did not mention that text code will also get you links to get into Social Media Day, June 30th at Metropolitan State University in downtown Denver, Colorado. And that you can get information about the Mile High Mastermind, an event that is put on solely by Just the Tips. That will be mid-September at the University of Denver. And thank you to both of those fine institutions of higher learning for being so accommodating for that kind of thing. Grant, thank you again. Again, our only 4-time guest. And it's really weird because you guys have got to understand, Grant's in California, I'm in Colorado. We don't do other business together.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm not referring him buyers. He's not referring me borrowers. We just happen to really like each other, have similar mindsets, want similar things. And it's really cool to have like-minded people telling all of you, our audience, the same kind of shit that you are tired of hearing me and Jen regurgitate over and over and over. So yeah, it's really fun to have Grant on the show, and hopefully we'll do it again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to next time. And my son is
Hey, there we go. Oh my God, that is an awesome picture.
he loves
And
bath time. Yeah.
who doesn't?
Well, I guess, yeah. You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love bath time too.
Of course. And yes, I was going to say that at this age is when they do become mobile, agile, and hostile. So for those of you contemplating getting yourselves into the same boat that Grant is currently in, one, the good people at Trojan are in business for a reason. This is not a paid endorsement. And and number two, yeah, at that age, you better be strong or fast or both, because they will move on you. All right. Well, Grant, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Thank you to all of our viewers and listeners. You can catch us at 10:30 Mountain Time every Monday morning. Well, most Monday mornings. We were a little touch and go about this week's show, but here we are. We did it. We pulled it off. Other than that, Grant, I know it's hard to pull a half hour out on a Monday morning, so thank you. And thank you for having to deal with all of the IT issues leading up to it.
Oh, my apologies for being a little bit late. Sorry about that. I will try and make sure the internet works over here next time around.
No problem. You were on before we even finished our intro. All right, Jen, run our extra, and we will see all of you guys next time.
Thanks so much.